Alrighty, I should be working on moving a bit more shit around and getting ready to do some more of this van stuff, and I am loading the van up with a bed base and a whole shit ton of plywood and tools and stuff. I want to just re-impress a few things on people, a summarised version of minus all the waffle on 2 years of dealing with plywood. About this box and a few other things, including thermal mass and continual heat and radiant heat. Now it's daylight. I've got a couple of better looking bits. This is a big piece I'm going to use. There's that blue I was saying. It's like a burgundy red. Now back to my stove. My stove case basically used a bit of 3x2 raw timber, softwood, and in that situation, radiant heat from a stovepipe, which is effectively, you know, the exhaust of a wood stove, caught that on fire from 8 to 12 inches away by radiant heat alone. Now you look at this. What is this? It's basic wood. You get plywood, what is it? It's a whole clusterfuck of layers, as you can see right there. Each layer is held together with said burgundy glue. But it doesn't end there. What we're going to do is we're going to put a bit of paint on there and a bit of waterproof sealer as well. Now I want to talk a little bit about fuels and hydrocarbons. Some of you have seen me get sawdust from basically the exact same timber on somebody else's channel in a now deleted video where I created, using, well, some old shit here that recently hit scrap metal when I had my cleanup, using basically a coffee tin. I think it may have indeed been a seed tin from when I worked at the nursery, and using just plain ass old sawdust, I created wood gas. I put it into an oven roaster bag and we lit it on fire and created a big flame from wood gas being burnt. But then you have things like paint and sealer, and your order of hydrocarbons is a lot higher. It's like comparing natural gas, which is basically methane, to petrol or gasoline. You jump up that hydrocarbon order, it's a lot more flammable, it burns a lot hotter, and it really happens for real. Wood gas burns fine. Talking of hydrocarbons and higher orders of hydrocarbons, in World War I, the Germans ran out of a lot of stuff, rubber being one of the main things they ran out of, but they also ran out of cutting torch gas, you know, for running their blowtorches, in which they used to make, well, really just the side of tanks and bits and pieces for artillery and gear like that. They needed this blowtorch gas to basically weld metal, and they had none, and they were fucked. What did they do? They got diesel, and using a similar process to make wood gas, they gasified the diesel, and they were melting steel for welding with it. Now it gives you a very dirty gas. You need to dramatically increase your amount of flux. You probably need to use like double or maybe triple the amount of flux. It is a very dirty gas. It's not ideal at all because it's so dirty, but they could still weld steel with that. Here you are with a box, a cheap generator, made in China, may leak oil, may have, well, you know, the builder says, use a funnel. Do you think Tubbs is going to be using a funnel? You just get the fucking Bowser hose and it'll be straight in, and it'll be over the sides of the blasted fuel tank and straight down into the bottom of the box. Then you've got gasoline and a bit of oil soaking into the wood in the bottom of the box. How is it again? Gasoline, maybe a couple of drips of oil, maybe not a couple of drips of oil, but gasoline, paint, waterproof sealer, and the glue in ply. And how far are we from that exhaust? About an inch. The radiant heat from that exhaust is going to be hotter. Never mind the engine block temperature, that doesn't matter a fuck. A lot of engines are air-cooled. Skodas today, full-size vehicles, they're air-cooled. Never mind that. The radiant heat of the exhaust, because that engine is burning a fuel that is of a higher hydrocarbon order than wood, it's going to be a lot hotter, because gasoline is going to burn a lot hotter than wood, and that's just a fact. And guess what? The heat coming off my stovepipe would be a lot less than the heat coming off a muffler out of a gasoline engine. And we caught a fire. We caused raw wood to light up from 8 inches away. Not wood full of glue, paint, water seal, with a big splash of gasoline in the bottom of the box, slowly heating and evaporating up. Oh, this is going to go up like a bitch. The other intriguing thing is, I want to talk a little bit about thermal mass. And there's one thing where you got heat, and the heat's drawn away, you know, and you just, it's like the engine block. It makes heat, but the heat's been drawn away, you know. And when you have a constant build-up of heat in one area, it's different. It's the difference between me lighting the propane stove here, and I've got like my nice thick base, there's still a bit of potato water there, nice thick bloody copper base in there. And this nice thick copper base tends to simmer for another 3 minutes after I turn the propane off. That's just the thermal mass in the base. See, when the heat source stops, and, you know, there's constant cooling, it's not a problem. When the heat source is running for 5 hours straight, emitting radiant heat without a stop, there's no real ability for it to cool. There is with a fan for the engine block, but that's air moving. That's one form of heat. Another form of heat is radiant heat, and you don't stop that by blowing on it. You can, this is the same reason that you can sit in a friggin' car and get sunburnt even when it's blowing windy outside and it's actually cold outside. I've, you know, experienced sunburn in cold temperatures here because of high light levels being exposed, regardless of how cold the air is. And how we get these strange days where they're fucking cold. It's like, fuck, what is it? It's like 38, 40 Fahrenheit. And it's so bright you got to wear sunglasses. And this, you know, Canada gets a similar thing in spring. We have a similar thing here. And this is the thing, you know, oh, but it was cool. It doesn't matter how fucking cool you are, you can still get sunburned. That's your radiant heat effect. You know, it's that same shit. It doesn't matter. If you blow wind on it, block it, this, that, the other, radiant heat is radiant heat. It's not normal heat. It's not hot air being blown out. It's radiant heat. It works different. And it's one thing if you've got it blocked, but that's the only way to stop it, is a physical barrier. There's no physical barrier from the ring around the back part of that muffler, the sheet metal, and that fucking box. Anyway, you know, We'll see how it all plays out. I can tell you right now, it's not going to last 5 years without a fire. I fucking guarantee it. I've seen the rot, as I explained in the first video, in form ply that is deliberately made to be in wet conditions. You know, and this stuff, you know, it's even no cut edges like that. The whole lot was sealed like that, even on the edges. All done in Europe, in a plywood factory there. And, you know, and the fucking shit still rots. It still rots. This is one of these things. It'll play out. It'll play out. You know, it's like me sitting a bit of plywood 1 inch in front of my wood stove chimney, covered with paint and water sealer 1 inch away, but then I'm not burning wood. I'm actually got like a gasoline burning away inside the wood. So fuck. If you ever wondered why I ever put any wood on the side of the wood stove, that's because inside there's like 4 inches thick of fire bricks, and the sides of this thing are not too bad. You can actually put your hand on it and hold it there for about 5 seconds before it gets too warm while the thing's running. The top will burn the shit out of you, and I've already burnt my hand on that enough times, but the sides are good. That's why I used to sometimes put a little bit of wood beside it, which in hindsight was a very stupid move, but you have to learn a few things before you realise the dangers involved. You know, and this whole idea of, you know, it's all going to be fine. Look, I have seen gasoline fumes cause flames to jump 2 car lengths. I've experienced that firsthand when playing with bonfires out here in the early days of clearing out fucking junk in this place. Like, I really, like, you know, one pile there, and it was more than 5 metres, maybe closer to 10. Poured gasoline on that one, poured gasoline on that one, walked back quite a distance with the jerry can, put it down, lit one, and the flame just, whoa! And I just didn't know what the fuck happened. I heard a hell of a woof. And the fucking one 2 car lengths away lit itself up. Yeah. I'm lighting this one, and the one 2 car lengths away just fucking burst into flame like that. That's gasoline. Oh, Mr. What? Oh, this Bowser shit, it didn't cut off quick enough. And it, you know, and you know what he's like. This is the guy who got water in a mains inverter that plugs into the cigarette lighter. While the fucking thing was still wet, he plugged it in, shorted it out, and then said it's a shit brand of inverter, don't ever buy this inverter, it fails. And they don't want to give you a refund. Dude, did you think maybe you should have dried the fucking thing out in the warmth for like just maybe 2, 3, not just 5 hours, maybe even 2 or 3 days, just to be sure it was dry? No, he got water in the fucking thing, and then he plugs it straight in, and then it shorts out, and he's amazed by it. He's stunned. It's a bad build, it's a bad brand. Dude, it was electronics with water in it. What do you think's going to happen when this guy fills up the gasoline and it overflows? He's going to start the fucking generator 3 minutes later. He'll fucking do that because he doesn't think of this shit. He doesn't think, well, maybe we better take the box off and you know, get an old rag or a bit of paper towel, wipe the bottom out, throw the paper towel in the bin, and let it aerate for like maybe a day. Well, no, fuck that. He'll just start the fucking thing up in a few minutes and fucking sure you. I guarantee you, this will be the push he needs to get a fucking job. That's what it'll be. Anyway, put aside from the fact that I've spent the last 2 years working on plywood, and I know that it rots from the side in, regardless of this film face plywood, which is supposed to effectively be waterproof, not even having a cut edge that isn't covered by black stuff. Don't worry about the place I've worked at, that, you know, massive company, turns over $6 billion a year. Sometimes we have 2 shipping containers full of ply come in every day. 2 40-foot shipping containers full of ply. And we've got to, We sell ply from China, Latvia, Russia. I spend months and months without a fucking break cleaning form ply, like that black shit there, every day, and replacing and repairing it. I've seen it rot, always from the edge in, very rarely anything else. I've seen it splinter. I've seen the way it flakes. It doesn't warp, it can warp from new. There's a shit Russian brand we were using, and every third one was warped, but that was brand new out of the packet. But they don't warp over time, generally not. No, it really doesn't. It's just not that. It's fibres going this way, glue, fibres that way, glue, fibres that way. They use some sort of a giant pencil sharpener and I know someone who's seen this shit. It's like a log, and it's like a pencil sharpener and an entire log spinning away slowly in like a giant wood lathe thing, and it just comes off as sheets. They lay it one way, the other way, one way, the other way, with that burgundy glue between. When it flakes, if it's going to flake, it flakes out layer by layer. It sort of frays from the edge. I know this shit. I've had more fucking ply than most bastards have had slices of fucking bread go through their hands. I fucking live and breathe this shit. Primarily 3/4 inch form ply, film faced. Eventually, that film face actually becomes porous, and it goes from black to brown to grey, as the porousness of it allows it to soak in some of the concrete fibres. It actually literally will go fucking grey. And you can scrub the shit out of it. You can run fucking wire brushes over it and floor sanders and fucking everything. It just won't come out. And this is the thing. Even the film face plier that is twice as thick as your thumbnail is still porous. And these things, after 18 months, 2 years, even with that double fucking layer thickness, that will basically go right through that after 2 years. Even with that shit on the edge, because the stuff we have, there is no raw edge like that. It's all imported from Europe. The whole lot's film faced, including the edges. This one's a cheap shit version of form ply that I bought really fucking cheap when I was fixing this house up. And that there, you can see it's a little bit fibery looking. That's because it's shit. That's actually a grey. It's hard to see it in the sun because it's, unlike last night when I was trying to film, it's too bright. So that's grey and that's black. Our one that we have, the good quality one's actually black on the side. You can still see the fibres there. That's because it's not fully enclosed. This is not a very good one. That's why it's cheap. They always rot from the side in. This would rot from the side in probably in 9 months because of it being shit, and you can still see that should be fully covered, so you can't see any ripples there. It should look like this, not little dimples and lines. But that's cheap shit. As you can see, plywood is multiple layers. Now some of it will have thicker layers, and other stuff will have thinner. And you can actually get there and you can count them if you really fucking give a shit. But a lot of you, like, you can look at some of this stuff and it sort of frays from it sort of all goes all splintery and shit when it gets in the weather. And that's the way it is. So anyway, I'll probably put this video up. I won't put my first video up because, I don't need a rant on about how the EU company I work for imports from Latvia, China and Russia. That's just plywood. We get other stuff from 2 different EU countries and India as well. We've got branches in 60 countries. We turn over €6.8 billion a year, and it's still primarily controlled by one family. Anyway, that's my little waffle on all of that. For those of you who didn't quite get the stove thing, I had a sheet of fibre cement sheeting that wood stovepipe used to go through to stop any soot falling down on my food as I was trying to boil stuff on the stove. And I come back to the fucking fire and I had a little bit of wood, just a few bits of 4x2 in the hearth on the side of the wood stove, because as I said before, you could put your hand on the side of that wood stove as it's running and it's boiling your food. You can put your hand on the side of it because it's so well insulated with fire brick. You don't get fuck all radiant heat from it. And it's really tall. It's about 4 foot tall. So you can just stack a bit of wood under. Well, all that shit from 6 inches on one side and anything from 8, 10, 12 inches on the other side, it's a bit hard to tell. It caught that 3x2 on fire. The fibre cement sheet couldn't handle, like it's held into the bricks with Dynabolts, like, this is like a ram set thing. And the fibre cement sheet couldn't handle the heat of its little 3x2 wooden frame catching a light. It collapsed, and then the wood collapsed onto this other wood, and I turned up here coming back from my parents to look through the fucking window as I'm unlocking the door, and there's a fire beside my fucking wood stove. And that wood stove was winding down. I hadn't put any wood on it for fucking an hour and a half, 2 hours. And still, from the radiant heat alone of a lowering and continuously lowering temperature of stovepipe, we fucking near burnt the house down. Holy smoke. The rules about where the wood sits changed, but I haven't used that wood stove for probably 3 years now. And maybe, probably 4 years to be honest. And anyway, that's my little experience of radiant heat, catching shit alight. So that's my little waffle anyway. And this is going to be, this will be an epic fucking play out, I guarantee you that. I don't know how many people are saying it, and yet somebody doesn't want to know about it. And I honestly don't fucking care, because consequences will fucking come and kick you in the arse, and you either learn the easy way from people warning you, or you learn the hard way when you nearly burn your fucking house down, like me, or you nearly burn your fucking van down like somebody else.